seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Here we go. P.M.P. Saturday night. Why not? Celtic 1, Aberdeen 0 at Pittodrie. Left it a bit late. The nerves are jangling, but not as much as my nerves about Terry Robb. Connor Carr, have you seen him? I've not seen him in over a month. He went out with my wee brother. I need him for P.M.P. I know you're a brilliant stand-in, mate, but I was hoping he was going to arrive.
I know you're going to need to start questioning your brother. What's he done with him? He's gone.
I don't know, mate. I mean, I know Jonathan could be a bit wild on a night out, but I thought Terry would have been able to handle it. Oh, my joking. Hey, there he is. He's back. But just to be clear, none of the markings you'll see on Terry's face were by anyone on the bus or Jonathan or any of that carry on. Terry, you might need to explain yourself though, mate, because I think that the passengers are going to want to know first and foremost.
Honest to goodness, Danny Dyer wants to get himself up into Stirling. Some of the bars, I see that Molly Malone's, that's got to be one of the toughest bars in Britain. Danny Dyer needs to get himself up round there. See some of the guys I came across that night. Honest to goodness, I fell foul of a few of the local heavies, and my face is only starting to recover now. Honestly, you don't want to be near Stirling if you're anyway innocent like me.
I know, mate. I know, and I thought Jonathan would have been a good backup for you. By the way, he's renowned for punching folks' lights out, mate. So I thought he'd have stepped in, mate.
I need to come clean and tell the truth. I was out for a few jars last Saturday night, and I was walking home. I was leaving stupid messages on the Bhoycie Bus chat on WhatsApp, and the next thing, slap, face down. My hands were in my pockets. Nose and eye took the brunt of it. That wasn't even the worst part. I then got to where I live, and I live up on a little hill, and I slipped again as I got to the bottom of the hill, and there's a street sign. So I've actually pulled it out of the ground, trying to hold myself up. Then I've got halfway up the hill, slid back down to the bottom again. I've repeated that about 5 times, and then I've just relented. I've rang the wife, and I've got her out of bed at nearly 2 o'clock to come down and help me get up the hill.
Wow. That'll went down well.
The reason I haven't spoke to you for nearly a month is completely different. I'm absolutely pissed off with you. And I've changed my agent. I've changed my agent, so you'll be speaking to my new agent just around the contractuals. You went and done that. You went and done that McGrandles show without me, and I wasn't a bit fucking happy about it.
I thought, mate, it'd been a wee bit embarrassing having someone slavering in one of the cameras,
sitting singing to him his own songs and all.
You're probably getting the words better than him.
What a cracking
Right.
show, by the way, cracking show. As were all the shows through the non-football period. I thought some of the content that yourself, Phil, and the guys come up with was absolutely magnificent. Well done, all of us.
That's really kind of you to say that, mate. Right, we'll get stuck into it. Brilliant to have Terry back on the P.M.P. And we are joined by Connor Carr up there as well. How are you tonight, Connor? You good?
I'm not bad. Same as usual.
Same as usual, mate. Aye, that's good though, mate. That's good consistency. A bit like Celtic, consistently winning. Because what happened today was it was a labour of love. I'm going to put my cards on the table for the get-go. Oh, in fact, do all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, slag my hair. What's the other one? Fucking share it on YouTube, become a Bhoycie Bus member. All that carry on because it helps. But aye, that'll do. We need to get talking about the football because the football is back. And today, I'll put my cards on the table. I actually thought Celtic were good. I liked the display today. I think, yes, there was a bit of faffing about in the final third that can frustrate people. Yes, there was glaring misses. But for me, what you're up against today was a nightmare, the way they played. And I actually thought, I know people will say we're trying to walk the ball in. In the first half, I counted at least 2 shots Greg Taylor had for outside the box. Giakoumakis had one for outside the box. Jota had one for outside the box. They were trying different ways because there are many ways to skin a cat, Phil McGinley. And I think they were trying to vary it up. Yes, sometimes you can get frustrated with the passy when it's in the box and, or stuff like that. But I felt what they were up against was just a team that didn't want to play football. And we're going to talk about that later as well. Ways to lose and all that stuff because it's quite relevant with us in Europe. Terry, I'll come to you first, as always, on P.M.P. What did you make of the game? Are you feeling as positive as Bhoycie is? Or are you in a different camp?
No, I'm feeling positive. I mean, the late winner makes it a lot easier to talk about it in a positive way. But if you look at the facts, we'd more shots, we'd more attempts on goal today than we did in the 9-0 game at Tannadice. With 33 attempts on goal. Now, some of those were absolutely horrendous, by the way. There was people at the back of that stand behind the nets could have ended up in the hospital with some of them things that were flying in there. All in all, I mean, if that goal comes in the first 5 minutes, that game goes on to be a routine 3-4-5-0 victory. The fact that we didn't get the breakthrough early, and I thought we started well. I thought we started with plenty of zip and started positively, and you're just sort of sitting waiting for the goal to come, and you're waiting, and then you start passing up really, really easy opportunities, and then I suppose round about that 60 mark is when you start to get a little bit nervous. I didn't feel overly nervous.
Me neither.
I don't know. I just get this feeling with this Celtic team that it's going to come, and as long as there's 3 minutes left on the clock, and my dad was watching the game with me as always, but my brother-in-law popped over as well, and I couldn't get rid of him. He's a Rangers fan, and he was sitting on. And even with 5 minutes to go, I'm saying to him, "I know we're going to get one." And he turned around and goes, "I know you're going to get one as well because you always find a way." And he said, "You will win this. You will get one." And he said it'll probably take a shot from outside the box. So there you go. A Rangers fan knows what's going to happen as well, but. It's got
to be one of those feelings if you're a Rangers fan as well, Connor, right? That Terry's touching on there. You know that feeling of going, the saying, the hope that kills you. And I think maybe what Terry's saying there is they've actually went full circle now and gone, we know those bastards don't stop. We know that mantra from Ange is all shining true now. And that's a number of late goals we've had this season, Connor. Do you know what I mean? And that's not fluke anymore.
No, it's not. I'm glad that Terry explained what was going on with his mug. I would have thought, if he hadn't explained, I would have thought it was when the Cal McGregor stray shots. But
I need one of those masks Calmac had on last year.
But no, I'm seeing it now, like with a team like a Celtic team, it's there's three certainties in life. Death, taxes, and Rangers fans absolutely spewing after a late Celtic winner. Because you see it all over the forums and that, as soon as, it's the 90 minutes are up, you check Twitter, you check Facebook, whatever, all the pictures and then the screenshots for the forums are going up and, they're absolutely spewing saying, they bastards are always at it, there's no point in getting your hopes up, they always score late on. And I feel like it's kind of it's a good thing. It's not good because they're not, absolutely scudding teams 5-6-0, which I feel would be a bit better and a bit more, entertaining. But it puts a psychological effect on all the other teams that we're playing, because, you know, we kind of feel like this unstoppable force that can't, you know, be halted in any way, because it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how long you park the bus or how many men you put behind the ball or try and stop our game plan. It'll work eventually, and we'll get the breakthrough, which I feel is, you know, a very positive step.
No, I think that's fair enough. A couple of interesting takes there. Terry, you in agreement with Connor on that just before we go? Stubbsy Sauce nails it.
Absolutely. The brother-in-law says to me, he says, I know you're always going to get a goal. And I says, just as much as I know you're always going to get a penalty.
That's good.
But no, it's a great strength to have, and I'm not just messing. I mean, I obviously started thinking about coming onto the pod later, and if it's 0-0, we're going to be a wee bit downbeat. Even though I didn't feel we played badly, yeah, I thought we might have needed to maybe just step it up a little bit on the speed of play. But all in all, when you step back and look at it, we'd all the play, we'd all the chances. And if we'd scored early, as I say, it would have been one of those routine, comfortable victories. I just hope Aberdeen are as stubborn in a couple of days' time.
Well, I wonder about that. And we're going to talk about Aberdeen in a wee bit, because I've got a couple of wee discussion points on that in my head, because as you all can probably tell, I don't take any notes. I need time for that, carry on. But it was an emphatic display when you look at the stats. Now, I'm going to go back to Gary Brown earlier. I've got the BBC just used the same stats that they were using like when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? Possession, shots on target, corners, fouls, where, you know, Gary's in the comments, and he's a Bhoycie Bus member, or Gary, and he's done a bit more digging than that. Gary's of the transfermarket.com era, I believe, and he goes a wee bit more in depth. He says 33 goal attempts, 10 on target, 13 off target, 10 blocked. That's the blocks from like the likes of Greg Taylor on that I was talking about. 7 corners, goalie had 0 saves to make, 856 passes, 754 of them completed, 200 attacks, and 143 dangerous attacks. I don't know if that's all bang on accurate. I trust Big Gary. I trust him. And this is the comparison very quickly, Terry, before you come in, mate. Dons, 2 goal attempts, 0 on target, 2 off target, 0 blocked, 0 corners, 9 goalie saves, passes 210 completed, 118 attacks, 83 dangerous. 118 completed passes from the 210. So they only completed about 60% of their passes. 83 attacks and only 23 dangerous attacks. That's damning, the difference between the two sides there, Terry. And yes, we've only won 1-0. But I don't think when you look at those numbers, particularly in the first number of stats there, what more could Celtic do in that type of game than what they've done when you look at that? I think, you know, yes, the misses, and we're going to talk about Kyogo obviously as well. But I think that aside, I think when you look at the numbers, and I know there's more depth than just numbers in the game of football, Terry. I argue that all the time. But I watched the game, and the numbers back up the take that Celtic weren't all that bad today. I think they played pretty well. I'm not sure they could have done much more, pal.
Well, so there's deep blocks, and then there's the Aberdeen deep block today, and that was just, you know, Jim Goodwin's been working on that performance for the last 4 weeks, and I'd read in one of the papers this week where he'd actually outlined what his plan was, and he was going to do the same thing that he did quite successfully at times with St Mirren against Celtic, and that was just what he did today. It was just 10 men behind the ball. I think Celtic did what they needed to do, and I know the goal didn't come to near the end, but I thought the introduction of Abada made a difference. I thought he was just a wee bit more direct, and he started to create, he started to make things happen for us down the right.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking around the BBC website there. I seen a funny one earlier. I'm not sure they've probably corrected it now, but earlier on today, they'd given the winning Celtic goal to Alan McGregor, which is probably the only thing that would have made it sweeter if he had scored it.
That'd be fucking amazing.
But no, Aberdeen. I mean, if you're an Aberdeen fan, and see, to be honest, the boos were ringing around the stadium, which normally if Celtic beat them by a goal and it was a kind of open game and both teams went out for, you know, to give it their all, the Aberdeen fans wouldn't have booed their own team, but they did boo their own team. And I think they've booed their own team not because they've lost the game, but because of the product that they served up to their own supporters, which was You know, they put absolutely nothing into it. And yes, they were 3 minutes away from getting a result, and those boos would have been cheers. But it's that old argument around: do you come out and do you go for it against a team like Celtic and risk getting your arse spanked, or do you sit in and make it as unpleasant as possible and hope you get through the 90 unscathed?
I think that's a brilliant point. We're going to talk about Aberdeen first and foremost, Connor, then. Why not? Because Terry's kind of led us into it there. This is an interesting approach Aberdeen's shown. They've won 9, I believe, out of their 10 home games this season. So they're not exactly not in form at home. They're third in the SPFL. They were going into the game. I don't know how the league table landscape looks now. And yet, you read Gary Brown's pitiful stats of theirs. Not a shot on target. 2 shots on goal the whole match. I mean, what was that we were watching today? And the reason I'm bringing it up is Celtic got plaudits in Europe, which, again, I'm not going to be hypocritical. I said, points make prizes at the end of the day. And eventually, we'll start judging on the points as opposed to the plaudits. However, points not plaudits. That's the new fucking saying, by the way. I've just coined it right now. Points not plaudits. I love it. Right. But at the same time, there is a reason that Celtic supporters still had optimism after only 2 points from 6 games. And that was with the manner of the defeats that we picked up or dropped points that we had, because we played our style. We didn't compromise. We took the game to the opposition. We had a goal, to put it in layman's terms, Connor. Aberdeen were on a run where, at the end of the day, Celtic games, I think, for Aberdeen, I've spoken about the record they have against us, is shite. Let's be honest, particularly since Brendan came at the club, it's been awful. So it's a free hit. I just don't know how the fans can leave there feeling inspired when at the end of the day, everyone probably thought they'd get fuck all. They got fuck all, but they actually put in a performance that was, as Terry says, resulting in boos round their stadium. I just don't see anything constructive in what Jim Goodwin was doing today. And, I like Big Jim.
It was really strange. It was not a performance that I would associate with Aberdeen. I feel like Aberdeen, particularly when it comes to playing either of the 2 Glasgow sides, they typically try and have a go. It was just really strange. It was something more akin to a Livingston, at the Tony Macaroni or at Celtic Park. It was really bizarre. It really caught me off guard. I didn't really know what I was watching. It was really strange. I was like, this is, because even under Jim Goodwin, when we've played them in the past, they've kind of had a go. There was a game last season where Jota got the winner. He scored as soon as I think Aberdeen equalised. They had a go then, definitely, and it was after the winter break. I guess that kind of counts what we're at now, but it was really weird. I didn't enjoy the game particularly, even though we were really, really dominant. It was kind of boring almost.
It's quite frustrating to watch as well, Connor.
It's the thing that, it's a bit, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but Morocco are not, I was watching the Morocco-Croatia game earlier, and Morocco aren't, the biggest nation by any means. Yeah, they've got really good players, but they were going up against some of the best teams, in the competition, and they gave it a proper go. Yeah, and all that's saying these smaller countries can take pride for this, and we'll actually go and have a go at these bigger international sides now, and that's the thing, is like, this is why Scottish football is seen as absolute dross, because the only 2 teams only one team in the country seems to really play brilliant attacking football that wants to entertain, and everybody else just seems to fill their teams with hammer throwers and want to just sit and duck in and go for the 0-0s and go for the scrape the 1-0 victories. It's really damaging on the product, and Jim Goodwin, I think, is one of the better managers in the league, and I've seen some of his performances have been good in the past, and that just wasn't it. If I was an Aberdeen fan, I'd be really bad. I'd be looking for a much better performance against Rangers on Tuesday night. I feel the supporters going out in the minus fucking whatever degree weather to go and watch that shit.
-9.
It would be very disappointing.
Yes, Terry, he's back. He said -9, Connor. Very good. But Terry, it's true that what Connor's saying. How does that encourage some of the fans that aren't even the season ticket holders, particularly non-season ticket holders who might be in, Aberdeen fans, to go to that game on Tuesday now. If that's what you're being
I'll turn it
served,
back the other way, Bhoycie, because I had this conversation with my old fella today, and he's sitting, and he's sitting, Aberdeen. Why are Aberdeen playing like this? And that's not football. And I've seen this, and I've seen that, and usual pish out of him. But I turned around and I said to him, what would you do if you were manager of Aberdeen and you were playing against Celtic today? What would you do? So I'll turn that. What would you do, Bhoycie, if you were the manager of that Aberdeen team setting up against Celtic today? Would you sit in? Would you go all guns blazing? What would your approach be? I probably would do what Jim Goodwin did, to be honest. It's just hang in there for dear life. What else do you do?
I think initially, you can catch teams cold. I think you can make a statement at the start of the game. And I think that's where, then of course, the game's sort of path all changes again as well. They might be even deeper than what we've seen today if they had a goal lead early on. And of course, from a Celtic point of view, if we had took one of the chances that we had, the many, many chances that we had, of course, Aberdeen, they need to come out a wee bit more. And this could have been, we were talking about an emphatic 4-5-0 win today based on the opportunities we created. Now, and that was against, the banks of five, do you know what I mean? But from an Aberdeen point of view, they now strike me as a team that when they're playing against, obviously, Celtic, that's the equivalent of Celtic playing a Champions League team, right? Exactly. That's the equivalent of it. And I think it kind of turned my head a wee bit, and probably there's a bit of bias in it because we're doing it against Celtic today. But it's kind of turned my opinion a wee bit on the points and plaudits debate because, to be fair, it is so much healthier. It is so much healthier knowing your team's with a go against opposition that they're not expected to beat.
Do you remember the 3-3? Do you remember the 3-3 up there a few years ago? A real slobber knocker, as you would say.
A slobber knocker, mate. Yeah. That was that Eddie got a double? Did we dink, or did we not win that 4-3?
No, there was a game. Lewis Ferguson scored 2 penalties, wasn't there?
Oh yeah.
3-3.
Yeah,
that was a game I was thinking of where Aberdeen just came out and went toe to toe with us, and it was, as you would say, a slobber knocker. But today was totally different. Like,
I just think that attitude won't. It doesn't. See, the thing is as well, you're in a precarious position. I think Aberdeen's one of those clubs that aren't particularly big, probably have false expectations from the supporters, and you're in a bit of a poison chalice there at times because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Derek McInnes was getting chased out almost by some of the fans. When you look at his record, what more can he do? But Terry, I just, I think when it comes to Aberdeen's actual their fans' reaction to this, I just think it's going to be so negative that it could, as Paul Diet said, force them into having a go. And if it forces them into having a go on Tuesday, that might play in the Rangers' hands, like it may have with ours today. So it's lose-lose now for them, I think, based on what they produced today. It's lose-lose.
I was sort of struck by the empty seats. There was quite a few red seats today, wasn't there? And I was kind of thinking, like, if you can't get a crowd at home against the champions, when are you going to fill the place out? Like, but then again, I suppose if that's what you're getting served up is what they got today, maybe there'll be even less. Make the journey, especially in the cold weather. It's absolutely freezing at the minute. I don't know what it's like with you guys over there. I'm assuming it's pretty similar, but it's been one of the coldest weeks I've ever remembered. And probably I was actually, there was part of me thought I would wake up this morning and the game would be off, but they've done a great job with that pitch. I think they had the covers on. It looked as if they had covers on, and they've done a great job because you wouldn't have known there was snow or ice or anything. The pitch was excellent for today's game. I'm just delighted that it was on, and we got the game played, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, Connor, there's so much to be positive about the Celtic side. One thing we're going to talk about as well is that I think Phil was saying it in the comments, a lot of madness on Twitter about, 5 subs, that 5 sub rule benefits Celtic too much and all that, and they're utilising it. Well, we all get the same options, in the transfer market. The windows is long for everyone. If we've earned money, earned it, remember, earned, not borrowed, earned it, that allows us to have a squad a bit beefier, shall we say, than others. And the rule is 5 subs. I don't think Celtic have petitioned for 5 sub rule at any point. I'm going to take advantage of that. And when you play high intensity football, corner like Celtic do, It's just so beneficial, the 5 subs. And Ange does use them. At times it can piss me off, the triple sub thing. But today, wow, he showed the courage of his convictions. Kyogo, Jota, Hatate in one fell swoop. Now, that is 3 players I think are Ange's strongest first 11 from Ange's perspective. We'll talk about Kyogo in a bit. But see, to have the courage of your convictions to make that sort of decision, that impresses me, because that is as hard a trio you could come up with, bar Cal McGregor, I think, and CCV. You know, that would be that. But to take those 3 off all at once is bold, and it worked.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I think Ange just kind of got the mentality, go big or go home. When it comes to, you know, the players and making subs and making changes, because but having a strong bench is, you know, you need to give them game time. You need to bring them on, especially when we know what they can do. You know, I feel like, you know, he made the correct decisions. I don't think Jota had his best game. Kyogo, you know, did his usual that he's been up to recently, you know, missing absolute sitters. And, you know, Hatate was a bit off the boil. He looked a bit half a yard slower than he usually does. His passing wasn't great. And, you know, if there's a team that's putting in a low block, I feel like one of the players is guaranteed to at least take a good strike and break a deadlock with Hatate, and he just wasn't doing it today. So I feel that's why he made the subs that he did, because, you know, David Turnbull, 9 times out of 10 when he comes on, is usually good for, you know, a good shot outside the box. You know, so it's definitely it's beneficial, and it's great, and I do think it's people will you know, when they're not happy with, you know, how things are going at home, or how things are going in their side, they try and pin the blame on something else rather than looking inward. It's not Celtic's fault that they've invested wisely and they've developed really good players that can, you know, impact a game. It's just, don't blame Celtic and don't say, oh, Celtic are benefiting because of that. It's not Celtic are benefiting from it. It's your team isn't taking advantage of it.
Yeah, and that comes to whether it be not having the options right now means you didn't take advantage of your transfer window. That's everyone's gift to sign players. You know, they got the Champions League money. They didn't buy a player after that. What do you want people to do?
Did you notice Bosun Lawal sneaked onto the bench today?
Who?
Bosun Lawal.
Did he?
Yeah,
that is interesting.
Peter Lawal's only back a couple of weeks, and his grandson's on the bench. See, he's influencing team selection already.
Took me a minute for the penny to drop there. I nearly went in a rant. I was like, wait. That is good.
Interfering in the dressing room.
Aye, that's it. While on the bench. Right, the new. Very good. Right, guys, we're going to talk about it. There's an elephant in the room. There's no two ways about it. The debate rages on. I've seen so many comments coming in the live chat. We may as well get stuck into it. What's going on with the centre forward position? Kyogo. Mark's been pilloried at times. I don't even think that's a word, but he's been slagged at times, and he's been, you know, ripped away, but we're not ripped away, but criticised, we should say, for his take that I'm not surprised when Kyogo misses an open goal. That was his exact words. I'm not surprised when Kyogo misses an open goal. Or if he missed that open goal, he might have been taught about it. There might have been an example he was referring to. And I thought, oh, fucking hell, at the time. Well, today it happened. And today we needed it. That net bursts of Giakoumakis as the striker there, right? This isn't just me being biased, and it's not because I thought Giakoumakis came on and was particularly great. Let's be real here. There's other reasons for that, of course. But one thing we can agree on is when he gets in those sort of areas, he don't miss. He just doesn't, right? He scores that goal, that opportunity. And the vibe I'm getting is fans are torn on this. It's a bit 50-50, I think, Terry. There's a real loving for Kyogo, and rightfully so. He's an infectious character. He works his balls off. He's an intelligent player. And I just think he's finishing at times. He's needing when there's not much open areas in Aberdeen sort of battling, because they've got so many players back. It's so crowded. That area of the park, he's needing a wee bit more space to run into. He ain't getting it in that sort of game, and he needs too many chances in these sort of games. Giakoumakis brings a different level to it. Today he got 20 minutes. What was your take on that, Terry? Because for me, that change I thought would have been taken earlier. I went to Twitter and I said, I actually think Giakoumakis isn't getting as fair a crack of the amount of game time, whether it be starts or minutes on the park. I don't think he's getting as fair a crack as what he deserves. Just an opinion. Not that I need to caveat everything I fucking say with that, but there's so many people who wet the bed when you say it, thinking you're doubting Ange and you're criticising Ange. You're like, oh my God, no one's not even talking anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's mental. But Terry, what was your thoughts on Kyogo's performance and then the timing of when Giakoumakis came on, and whether it was too late or too early, or whether he should have came on or not?
Quite naively, I hope that we wouldn't have this Giakoumakis Kyogo conversation again, because we have it every bus. I was surprised he left it so long. So he made the one change at half time, but that 3-player change didn't come until it was well into the 70s, wasn't it? It wasn't the normal round about the hour mark. And Kyogo wasn't overly influential in the game. I think the way Aberdeen set up probably didn't lend to, as you say, him making the runs in behind the things, because there wasn't anywhere to run in behind. Because
I didn't articulate that very well, but
but the one that he missed that Abada laid on for him, my goodness, that's a shocker, isn't it? And it is becoming a little bit of a concern, just the regularity that in instances like that we're not getting the goal. And there was one other chance in the first half where he around the keeper. What are you doing?
I thought you fell off your chair there.
I mean,
Connor.
fucking notifications are coming through. Is my phone for you?
Turn the vibration off, you clown.
The time he around the goalkeeper, he was forced a little bit wide. On top form, full of confidence. Would he have finished there? Possibly. We've touched on the Abada one that he missed, and then there was one more where he kind of adjusted and he quite an acrobatic effort, which again, if he was in top form, you expect to see the net bulge. But he's as likely to miss an open goal as he is to turn and bang one from 25 yards into the top corner. And
you've got to give him credit for these moments that he's given us, because they've been unbelievable.
That's just something we're going to have to accept with this little guy. He's going to have his magic moments and he's going to have his absolute horrors. What I would say around Giakoumakis is, let's see how the next 2 games play out, because we've 3 games in 7 days. Will Kyogo start all 3? I don't think so. If he does, given the rumours, what's happening with him? What are you doing there, you clown? Given the rumours and stuff around Giakoumakis, if Kyogo starts these 3 games, I think the writing's on the wall for the big fella, and that isn't something I want. I want Giakoumakis to stay with Celtic. I think he's a great asset. I want him to get his fair share of game time. I want to see him knocking that ball into the net. But see, today when he was coming on, his body language wasn't the best. His body language just didn't the same. It didn't look as eager as he normally does to get on there. And he didn't have anything clear cut. He had a couple of headed opportunities that.
He's just like a boxer, Terry, when he's coming on. Do you know what I mean? Before the fight,
boxer just spring.
He's got that mentality.
Before
bouncing it. You can feel it off him, and that's why we need to remember why we fell in love with this guy in the first place. And a lot of that was to do with the energy that he brought. You know, that sort of psyche that he brings in. I don't know. I think you've got an echo now, Connor. I can hear myself coming through now. I don't know what is going on with your phone, son.
No, touched.
But I think. Like, see with Giakoumakis' body language, like you say, yes, but he's also getting judged, Terry, right now on 20-minute cameos.
I know.
And it's so difficult. I mean, he didn't just come in from the cold today. He came into the cold. He's got no chance. In the first header, he looks a bit daft, but there was a defender who jumped right in front of him, and I think he's seen it late. He's mistimed it, of course. But you could say, well, was he in full flow at that point, and he'd been on the park, for the get-go? Maybe he does bury it. I don't know.
Do you think he starts during the week? Do you think he starts during the week? Livingston's more a game up history, isn't it?
Well, we're at home the next 2 games. This is what I don't get. See, for me, it's the other way around. I think Giakoumakis is tailor-made for today. And Kyogo the next 2 home games. And this is what I'm getting to. Because what I think as well is very important is we have to give them a fair crack of the whip. I don't want. See if GG goes, he goes, and I've got to be consistent. This is the new Celtic. This is the new, the new era of what Ange's doing. There's going to be players that come in and they leave within 18 months. Just get used to it. They're not all going to become your heroes, or if they become your heroes, there's going to be a lot of tears. But in the case of Giakoumakis, see if he left, I just think there'd be a huge what if about Giakoumakis, as opposed to how you feel. You can't dictate how you actually feel about Giakoumakis leaving. So I just don't feel he's started enough games. He's not had that run being the main man. You would only look back maybe to the second half of last season where he had that 3-month spell of being the main man. But I just feel that he would leave and there would be a big question mark over it for me as to what could have been. Was he good? Was I overrating him at the time? I wouldn't know. Would I've got clarity in Juranovic, he's leaving, and I'm not like what Matt was saying, he'll not be bought. I can't remember the quote he used. It was funny, but I feel like I'm convinced he's a good player. He'll do well at a decent level, and maybe not as good as gets made out. But I've formed an opinion on him based on the amount of minutes in the park. I feel a frustration about Giakoumakis when I've seen so many good things. Some of the times maybe not so good, but on the whole, loads of good things, but just never consistency. I've never been able to watch him become the guy. And if he failed at being the guy, sound. That's okay. We can all move on. But I don't know. I think we'll be a wee bit left in no man's land if he left as a lot of what ifs, Connor. You know what I mean?
I think we'd be remiss without him. It's, you start to look at what's happening now, and I'm not saying question the manager or anything, but you start to ask, would Giakoumakis have even got the amount of time that he did if Kyogo wasn't injured for so long? And considering I know he had an injury when he first came in, and then he had to get himself back up to fitness, and then Kyogo got injured, so that allowed for Giakoumakis to come in. But he's not done anything wrong to stop him, getting into the team. He only had, a few months last season to really make an impact, and he became joint top goal scorer. And I have that much confidence in him this season that he would, that he would be one of the main men, and that him and Kyogo would get an equal share. That I still stick a wee fire on for him to be top goal scorer. Now, maybe he'll start starting more games, and he'll start scoring more, and he's not leaving, and I could maybe win my bet, but it's looking very unlikely because he's just not getting the minutes I think are owed to him. I don't know if we have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. Obviously, to be a fly in the wall inside Celtic Park would be brilliant, but unfortunately we don't have any sources like that. So, but it's madness because the guy comes with a decent pedigree. He came for the Eredivisie. He was the top goal scorer.
Eredivisie, yes, I know the Eredivisie very well. Yes, with my time with Arthur Newman in my Adams Ippel.
So he came for good pedigree. He was top goal scorer there when he left, and he became joint top goal scorer when he joined Celtic. He's already contributed this season. I think he scored, late winners. The one up at St Johnstone was brilliant. Kyogo doesn't score that, as far as I'm concerned. He would he'd miss it, or he would, blaze it out of the bar or something like that. But it's getting to the point where, in the back of my mind, I was thinking Aberdeen were in such a low block, and we're just letting everything come at them and clearing it. That why would you not have put the both of them on it and try to break that down? Do something a bit different. But you only give them 20 minutes. 20 minutes is nothing, to make a serious impact. I think 30 minutes at minimum is what he should be getting to come in and try and do something, because it's not really fair, because
he gets then judged by it, Connor, doesn't he? Because then look at
he's getting judged.
It's another appearance on his column without a goal.
A penalty in a fucking friendly in Australia. He's getting judged off of that. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm not judging him on that.
Oh, I'm not.
Do you know what though? The bit you've missed, the bit you haven't even looked at is the substitution of Aaron Mooy was the absolute difference today. Absolute difference. He was absolutely sensational when he came on, was he not?
The ball, yes.
He looked fucking freezing. He
Can
looked
tell
like
us this though, Bhoycie.
if it,
Did you see the Australian games in the World Cup?
yeah.
Aye,
I thought it
so
was good.
I know you've obviously had your opinion on it. If you'd watched the World Cup and you'd watched Mooy's performances, and then you heard Celtic were about to bring him in, how would you have felt? Would that have changed your view at all?
To a point, but I would have still probably had that. Maybe not as underwhelmed, Terry, because it was only underwhelmed I was. Remember, I still thought he was an okay player. I just thought it's an underwhelming signing for me, and I wouldn't have seen. I think the optics, when you look at his age and all that, and I just think on a free transfer, he's played in China 2 years. I just don't think that's the future for Celtic, and I think he's not the dynamic that we have throughout every other area of the team. He doesn't really. He's like
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. He was very.
But he had a good World Cup. I can't deny
because he's been the main man in that team, in that midfield for the last 10 years. When he plays for Celtic, he's not the main man. He's just part of. He's part of the jigsaw. McGregor's the main man, and everybody else fits in around that. And even when McGregor was out, Mooy didn't become the main man. But when he's playing for Australia, his performances for Australia in the World Cup were consistent with his performances for Australia over the last 10 years, because he was the person that they were relying on.
He's the main man. That's fair.
Absolutely.
I liked what I seen of him at the World Cup. So I know we're not going to do another Aaron Mooy special, but nice grenade there, Terry.
Did you see the article that came out about Aaron Mooy the other day?
For fuck's sake,
I know, this will take 2 seconds and you won't
go for it.
Swear to God, it's true. This ex-porn star, who was the number 1 porn star in the world, one of our favourite football players is Aaron Mooy. And that is a true fact.
I don't know how you know that, and I don't know what site you read that on, Connor. I leave that to everyone's imagination.
Delete it.
Does Pornhub have a blog now? Do you know what I mean? The Pornhub sports blog. Connor's just subscribed. Reading about Aaron Mooy.
Segment on the bus.
Yeah, well, you never know, mate. You never know.
After
But I think it's thrown me off fucking guard. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about the rest of this show now. I fucking thrown off guard. But when it came to getting the winner today, that's what it is. Terry, I talk about the new Celtic, the dynamism, and Aaron Mooy doesn't fit it. Well, the flip side of that is today we went back to the old school. Today we went back to James Forrest's assist, his 100th at the club, sensational, and a Callum McGregor goal from outside the box. That was a brilliant strike. But it's the two guys who've been there, seen there, done it, who went there, seen it, and done it again.
That's not a coincidence. So I mean, when you're going into war, you take your tried and trusted into the trenches, and going into that last 15, 10 minutes, bringing Forrest on. There's a reason. There's a reason why he did that. Yeah, he didn't have a massive impact, but he gets the assist. He's a step closer to that 500 appearance mark, as is Callum McGregor. McGregor had quite a few wayward strikes, shall we say, during the course of the game.
He did.
But I mean, all credit to him. It's a brilliant strike, absolutely brilliant strike. And also seeing another stat, and again, stats can be a wee bit misleading, but Callum McGregor's performance today, he had the most passes of any player in the SPL in the 90 minutes today in that game.
He had more passes to the entire Aberdeen team.
I'm sure he probably did, because I don't think they had any, to be honest. I had more passes than the entire Aberdeen team.
I think Celtic girl comes in, and we're going to bring this up. I mean, we're talking about the old school, the combination between Forrest and Cal McGregor, how wonderful it was. There is a need now, though, for another striker. I think that argument is now been validated. And I think, we spoke, obviously, in the summer at length about a third choice striker. Could it be Jordan Larson and all that? I'm not going to go back through all that. But the debate about, where would they get a game? Where would a striker get a game for Celtic? Even though they're of certain quality of the one we were talking about. I think that argument's now officially closed. Case is closed. There has to be another striker that arrives at some point. I would prefer January. And I was saying, what's the point in getting a better player? I was saying this on Twitter. What's the point getting a better one, though, if they're not going to get a fair deal and get the fair opportunity? However, that could just be Ange sees a hell of a lot more of these two strikers. And just maybe, what he's seeing on the training ground isn't enough for Giakoumakis to warrant these starts that we all from the moments we've seen him in, think he deserves, and we have to bow to that knowledge because he sees far more than we do. But that being said, I definitely think there is an argument now to bring in Terry, a third out and out number 9.
If Giakoumakis goes, we must go out and get one.
I think 2.
Must
I
go
would
out
say-
and get one. Here's where my head's going with this, and I didn't feel like this during the summer or in the early part of the season. But I have a lot of respect for stuff that Mark Kearney says, and I listen to him very closely, and I think he talks a lot of sense. And one thing he said that has resonated with me from the moment he said it is, we all have our favourites, and we think, I can't imagine a Celtic team without that person. I don't. But we can always go and get one better, and if we get one better, then we fuck the person whose nose is put out of joint.
Yep.
I'm thinking now, can we go and get someone who's better than both of those guys that we've got? That's what I'm thinking. And will the board be thinking like that? I don't know.
That's the interesting other take on it, Terry. I love that because you're right. That's going to be a measure of our ambition, because I think we've got 2 really good on their day strikers there, right? But I also am convinced, Terry, every position can always be looked at to be improved.
There's a striker out there who's available on a free this summer who's better than both of those guys.
I mean, the world stops if Musa came back. The world would stop. I mean, like, certainly our wee world anyway would. I'd have to take a week off work. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be incredible. That would be incredible. But I do think, Connor, there is now an argument that's becoming stronger and stronger. For me, it's done. The case is closed. Celtic need to get another option up there for as a striker, I think. And if that might be based on a couple of things, by the way, not just the fact that the Kyogo didn't get a goal in the Champions League and Giakoumakis only got one, and we looked like if we took our chances, we could have done better. Not just based on that, but also based on the debate we had 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, whatever, about Giakoumakis' maybe perceived, in my opinion, unfair amount of game time. That might mean Ange just doesn't fancy one of the only 2 strikers we've got. If that's the case, even more reason to ensure we get back out there and get another one in.
Yeah, it's a bit of insurance, just in case something, just in case, for whatever reason doesn't fancy Giakoumakis, and then Kyogo just continues to not score fucking chances that gets put on a plate for him. So, you better sound the klaxon, because Martin O'Neill, when he had Henrik Larsson and Chris Sutton, he didn't just stop with the 2 of them. He went and got John Hartson to come in as well. And then he played all 3 of them. You're like, that was, the dynamic the 3 of them had together was incredible. So I'm not saying that, he's going to bring in a third striker and all 3 of them are going to play, but there's always room for improvement. If we keep thinking that, we are settled and we're fine, then that's a dangerous mindset to get into,
I agree.
Resting on your laurels. And I feel like Celtic have been pretty good with that. I'd say bar the 10 in a row season just there, that was pretty evident that, we kind of thought, oh yeah, we're so much better than the opposition. We don't really need to, upgrade or try. So then it blew up in our face. So I think it is a must. I think, we've got, Alistair Johnson, the lumberjack, and we've got Yuki Kobayashi came in as well. So the next thing, there must be a striker. And if they want to, I don't know if he wants a project striker or if he wants to go and get a better striker than the 2 of them.
There's no point in a project striker for me.
Oh no, it'd be pointless. But for all we know,
Yeah, no, I take that.
He who must not be named is back in the building. So he might only give him the option as getting a project striker. We have no idea yet, but one needs to come in, because the B team right now certainly isn't producing, I think, players that can step into the first team and have a go, especially now we're getting into the crunch time of the season. I feel like it's a must. If we don't do that, then I feel it's absolute negligence.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's staring us in the face that a striker would be good. I mean, again, today, I'm extremely positive. I think about the display that we put in, the 33 chances created, but we've spoken about chances being created time and time again. You know, this was the SPFL today, and yeah, I think, you know, like I said earlier, what Aberdeen set up as and how they played made it extremely difficult for us to convert chances, but then there were other glaring misses, and I just feel the game could have been a lot more relaxed. It could have been, and remember, league titles can come down to goal difference, albeit I don't see it this season, but they can come down to goal difference sometimes, and today could have been a case in point when you're looking back through the records and you're going, fucking hell, that time we only won 1-0 and we had 33 shots on goal. I mean, what the fuck happened that day? And did we get a striker to take it that January? No, we didn't. We had one who might be wanting to leave, and we had one who's missing open goals. You know, that's how the narrative can turn that quickly. I definitely think it's an area we can look to target. However, here's the optics. We are going into a bit of a busy festive period, Terry. It's a wee cluster of fixtures before a certain game at Ibrox. Livy at home, St Johnstone at home, Hibs away. Based on what we've seen today, what we've discussed, how confident are you going into these three games? We go to Ibrox with, at the very least, our 9-point lead intact, and that could only be extended if they were to drop points. But we do our bit, and we take maximum points from those next three fixtures.
100% confidence we go into that game with at least 9 points as an advantage. I'd expect over the next two games that will extend to 11 or 12.
Wow, that's fair.
We'll win these two home games. They've got two very difficult away games, Aberdeen and Ross County. If they get through those two games unscathed, fair play to them, because those are two difficult away games. I would imagine Mickey
Aberdeen
Beale,
away.
They're away to Aberdeen. They're away to Ross County.
Ross County. Oh.
I'd say Mickey Beale was sitting today. He probably was in the Rangers management WhatsApp chat just about to send something before McGregor swung around and stuck that into the onion bag. I watched their game on Thursday night, and I try not to watch them, but at the end of the day, I just was so delighted to see Scottish football back, and it was a really good game. I mean, it had all the usual traits of Scottish football: action, goals, bad tackles, cheating, all that kind of stuff. And they were absolutely honking, to be honest. And I mean, I called it after the Hearts game. I called it that was the title. Nothing's going to change my mind on that. Even if we do go into that game in January worse off than we are now, we're still going to win the title. I'm absolutely 100% confident it will be 9 points minimum.
9 points minimum will be the gap going to Ibrox. Based on the fixtures I've read out, Connor, how are you feeling?
I'm agreeing with Terry on this. I watched their game and see before people start. I hate all this like obsessed part. If you have close rivals who are on the TV and you've been missing football for fucking weeks, Scottish football, you go and watch it, okay? So there's no obsession. You know, it's a lot easier to, you know, have a educated opinion on your rivals if you actually see how they're playing. You're not just guessing it.
I thought it was a cracking game, Connor. I thought it was an excellent game after watching absolute dross at that World Cup for a month.
It was a good game, but it's just the typical fucking Hibs that, you know, they, you know, were a goal up, conceded a goal, and then early, then got one right back straight away, and then
the penalty.
Oh, the poor fuck! Don't even mention that. This is, you know, it's like it's been going over social media. I'd assume, well, you have seen it, Russell, but I did tag in it because, you know, the fuck's sake,
he's off a seat again.
That's the fucking guys at the VAR office are trying to tell me.
Where'd you get him, Bhoycie? Where'd you get him?
I'm going to buy you a phone stand, mate.
No, the penalty decision or non-penalty decision was absolutely flabbergasting. But, you know, you can't, you know, considering that Celtic have bar today, which, you know, for all if I didn't get any VAR calls today, thankfully, because that would have just sent me absolutely through the roof. But I think Rangers are the only team who have not conceded a penalty since VAR's came in, and I think every other team in the league has. You know, every ball that touches a hand in the box, which, you know, isn't in a natural position, is deemed a penalty. Specifically ones against Celtic and against other teams like Aberdeen, Livingston, Ross County, you name it, but not at Ibrox. Mm-hmm. You know, we're going to need to which I think they'll go 9 points still clear when we play them in January. Possibly more, because those are two really difficult away games. I think Aberdeen will give them a decent game, and Ross County is always a notorious difficult place to go, especially in the cold weather and things can get tough, and you've got to get your teeth to get through that kind of fixture. We'll need to be on our absolute A game to beat them at Ibrox, because we are getting absolutely nothing for the refs this season, and they're not getting nothing against them either. I'll make a bet with you the new Russell, right? I'll give you 20 quid, right? I'll bet you 20 quid. They don't get a penalty given against them this season with VAR. They don't get a penalty given against them for the rest of the season.
I like it.
I'll give you 20 quid if they do.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I think it's a fair point. I mean, it probably is. It's quite unlikely.
Here's my take on VAR, Russell. I don't think I've had a chance to really get my teeth stuck into it. Celtic are playing double jeopardy with VAR. If the guy on the pitch gives something in Celtic's favour, the fucker off the pitch will change it. If the guy on the pitch doesn't give it, the fucker off the pitch won't change his mind. So we're getting judged twice on every decision, and there's two opportunities there for someone to fuck us over. And it's the same with the other side. And do you know what? That's it. I've had my say on it. I'm not going to mention VAR the rest of this season because I've accepted it, and I've said this before in the show. Since 1888, we've been getting these decisions, and we're just going to get them. And it's not going to matter because we're so far better than the opposition. We're going to win anyway. But I mean, how do you sit and explain to Alexander Bernabei how his handball, when he was looking in the opposite direction, is a penalty, but that guy the other night facing the direction of the ball with his arm out like that isn't a penalty? How do you explain to that guy what he did wrong? You just can't do it. It's just impossible.
No. I mean, the other one that was amazing was he was falling. Well, why the fuck was he falling? That's got nothing to do with anything. A player who's falling, that doesn't come into the sort of ruling of whether it's a handball or not.
It's the color. It's the color of the jersey. That's the only difference.
I think that's a strong point. We will end the show on a high. It has been today the 200th goal scored by Celtic under Ange Postecoglou. That is phenomenal, Terry. I think since he's came in, is it the overall record since he came in, or is it this season? I can't remember which, but we're the third top scorers in Europe.
Yep, seen that.
I can't remember if that was based on the 200 goals. I think it was. Someone will tell me. But Belly says 87 games. It's incredible that's the sort of football we're playing right now, and I'm enjoying it. I think that's been the real positive here. Is whilst I wanted the success, I had concerns over whether we were going to get it early on last season, but now we've got a league record now that it's astonishing.
You've got to give him credit. He came in and he said he was going to give us entertaining football, and that stat that you've just rolled out there proves that beyond any doubt. Yes, we only got one today. Yes, we've been a wee bit wasteful in front of goal. Yeah, 100 home and 100 away. So you'll always expect you're more productive in front of goal at home. We're just going out and playing the same way, home and away. It doesn't matter if it's Ross County, Real Madrid, or whoever. But he promised us entertaining football, and he's 100% delivered on that. Even though, as I say, today we were a bit wasteful. We've been a wee bit wasteful over the last 3, 4, 5 games. I think that'll turn. I think there's going to be more Dundee United games in this season before we finish. I really do.
I think that's fair. I think we're doing well. I think it's been a brilliant journey that we're on, Connor, right now. 200 goals, mate. What do you make of that? You got a favourite?
Out of everything, out of all the 200, I'll give you two. I'll give you Tony Ralston's winner up at Ross County, and for last season and this season, I'll give you Jota's chip against Rangers at Celtic Park.
Very good. I like
my favourite's still Kyogo against Ferencváros after the wrecking pass from Jota. I just love that goal. I just love watching it over and over again.
Yeah, I love the Giakoumakis flick The Giakoumakis flick was minted, man, at the near post. Loved that.
Against
But aye,
Hearts.
we've been spoiled in that sense. It is a brilliant achievement. Huge shout out to James Forrest as well with 100 goals, 100 assists. He joins Jinky and Heinrich in that bracket, which I think's astonishing. And fair play to him. I know it may well have took him a wee bit longer than others, but he's a winger, you know, and he's done a brilliant job over the years. I thought as well he's assisted. I thought it was tight. I thought it was clever. And like I said, it was back to the old school. Sometimes, you know, you've got to rely on those who've been there, seen it, and done it. That'll round us up then for P.M.P. It's been good to be back. So some old post-match pish with Terry Robb, Connor Carr, and Celtic winning again. It's very cold out there, guys. You could say it's -9. Good night.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.